Hello, Nigeria. I am Becky Madijamo. Thanks for joining Newsline. Great that you did. I won't be overdoing it to say Happy Independence. Let's consider the entire month of October as the Independence season. Why not? Especially as the celebration is still on in several places. Our people in the sub-region marked Nigeria at 58 in a flamboyant way. We will show you the two countries where Nigerians showed how far they can go when it comes to identifying with their roots. Now, roots remind one of gardens and flowers. Well, good that we have lovely exotic flowers for you. Wait to see the lady taking the lead in cultivating these plants that appeal to our senses. Meanwhile, there is a new discovery about alcohol. We'll tell you what research experts have concluded following years of study. The rising profile of commercial tricycles comes under focus this week, while the public will define for us who a man of God is. I wish I could disclose all the headlines right now, but I love to play suspense. Let's give you something to look forward to after the news is done. Hello, Ogwa Vivian Oyedibia. Take it away.
Hello, it's good to see you, Becky. Good evening and welcome to the news. A lot is going on the political scene, and we're starting with the report that President Muhammadu Buhari has formally accepted his nomination by more than 14.8 million card-carrying members of the All Progressives Congress to recontest the 2019 presidential election. Well, this was at the National Convention of the party in Abuja, where he was confirmed by delegates as winner of the unprecedented direct presidential primaries conducted nationwide. State House correspondent Damu Sambo has details.
Those in favor say yes.
It was not only thrilling and colorful, but indeed a remarkable sight to behold, as nearly 7,000 delegates of the governing APC from across Nigeria unanimously endorsed and ratified President Muhammadu Buhari as the party's flag bearer for the 2019 presidential election. At the event, held in accordance with the party's constitution as well as the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, President Buhari thanked members of the APC family for the massive show of support, solidarity and acceptability.
It is a deep sense of humility that I stand before you today to accept the nomination of our party, the All Progressive Congress, to be its candidate and flag bearer in the 2019 presidential election. I accept this honor as a tribute and mark of confidence to carry the responsibility as we all join hands to continue the good work of the All Progressive Congress government to 2023 and beyond.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who described as a thing of pride the achievements of the governing APC from 2015 to date, was emphatic that change has indeed come to Nigeria. He said apart from arresting the slide to anarchy on the nation's security and economic fronts, stabilizing the currency, increasing foreign reserves to $44 billion and power generation capacity to 8,000 megawatts, Boko Haram is also reduced to the steadily attacks on soft targets.
We have repaired and are repairing major arterial roads and starting major railway projects with the aim of linking the 36 states.
Are high that Nigeria's steady march to sustainable peace and progress through the change agenda will continue. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Well, just a few hours after his endorsement as presidential candidate of the governing APC, President Muhammadu Buhari treated to a breakfast of note a dancing group of orphans popularly referred to as explicit dancers. State House correspondent Damu Sambo once again reports on the remarkable moment of history for the lively and dashing young lads from Ibadan, Oyo State.
explicit dancers showing their dancing prowess Saturday night at the National Convention of the governing All Progressives Congress in Abuja. Sunday morning, however, found them here in the State House on invitation to breakfast by President Muhammadu Buhari. The young dancers, aged between 11 and 27 years, are mostly orphans taken off the streets and brought up at Explicit Home of Favor Initiative, Ibadan, Oyo State. The young boys and girls engage in vigorous and scintillating dancing to entertain their audience. But the Saturday night performance, which earned them this presidential call to the seat of the Nigerian government, will no doubt remain indelible in their minds for a very long time.
To serve our fatherland.
Whoever wakes me up and tell me I was dreaming is in trouble. Because I hardly dream. If I wake up now, somebody says it's been a dream, I have to remain in that dream.
President Muhammadu Buhari told his guests that he was very impressed with their performance, saying it must have taken a lot of discipline and training to dance with such dexterity.
Let's couple with your intellectual pursuit. I think you are doing very well. I congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulate you.
The father of the registered welfare home, David Abraham, a graduate of business administration in his 40s, was full of appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for being a father to all.
So I don't know how much you carried before we came, but because you allowed us in and you came down to our levels, and you came on the queue with us to be the last, and you served yourself like we did, and you ate with us and you were jesting with us, heavens will answer to all your prayers in Jesus' name. Favor will not depart from you in Jesus' name. If indeed there is a God in heaven that sees to every affair of men, this is not an accident. You are not an accident in this country. God bless you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
14 members of the dance group were at the breakfast meeting with the Nigerian leader, though the home, established in 2004, currently has an enrollment of 56 people. The Home of Favor initiative is funded from takings at dance appearances and free will contributions. Executive Director of the group, Honoride Florentina, said she was short of words over the breakfast meeting with the president. He is not the way people describe him on social media, she uttered in a very low tone, saying President Muhammadu Buhari is humorous, fatherly, and very warm with a heart of gold. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Happy people there. Well, let's go back out.
Seeing how we diversify our economy.
Next 4 years, we'll have self-sufficiency in food production, near adequate supply of electricity, modern transportation.
I want to urge everyone in this country, including the so-called opposition party, to give up and vie for other places, not position of the president.
My state is a Buhari state, that I can tell you. We gave him over 600,000 votes in the last election. And I believe with the continuous registration this time around we'll do more.
The election has been scheduled for February 2019 by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Well, today being the deadline for submission of candidates for the 2019 election to INEC, political parties across the country have been conducting primaries to elect their presidential candidates. Ismail Musa compiled the rescheduled primaries of the APC across some states, of which are yet to be concluded.
In Adamawa State, the direct gubernatorial primary election saw Governor Muhammad Jibrila emerging victorious in 20 out of 21 local government areas of the state, with a total of 193,656 votes. While in Imo State, the former Chief of Staff, Imo State Government House, Uche Nwosu, has been declared winner of the reconducted Imo State APC governorship election. The result for the governorship primary in Taraba State is yet to be announced due to alleged irregularities and violence. Meanwhile, protests have been trailing the delay in the release of governorship and National Assembly primaries in Kwara State. In Zamfara State, less than 3 hours to the deadline, the National Electoral Committee and the aspirants are yet to conclude whether the election will hold. The APC National and State Assembly primary elections in Abeokuta, Ogun State saw Senator Ibukule Amosun polling 824 votes to clinch the senatorial ticket in the forthcoming general elections, defeating 3 others.
And still talking politics, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated winners of All Progressives Congress APC primaries across the country, urging losers to demonstrate sportsmanship by accepting the outcome without bitterness or resentment. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President advised losers of the primaries to always put the party first. He also enjoined the winners to show grace in victory instead of mocking losers, as such action is capable of destroying party unity and cohesion. The President emphasized that those elected should see their positions as a public trust instead of abusing their mandates to amass personal wealth at the expense of voters who voted them into power. And the presidency has distanced President Muhammadu Buhari from a letter currently in circulation which alleges that the president had authorized a governor or anyone else for that matter to deal with traitors and disloyal members of APC, especially Senator Shehu Sani. A statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President, Garba Shehu, confirmed that the President is not aware of any such letter, let alone authorizing anyone to deal with any party member. Given President Buhari's record, it is inconceivable that he would usurp the role of party leaders and instruct anyone to punish a party member, appealing to the general public, especially members of the press, to ignore false or unauthorized information intended to attribute to the president any action which is not in line with his character. And still on party primaries, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar emerged as the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, defeating 11 others at the party's primary in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Robinson Deratede reports.
Prior to the election, PDP leaders, led by the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, urged the delegates to vote in accordance with their conscience so as to give the party an edge in the general election. 12 candidates contested for the party's presidential ticket. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar emerged winner with 1,532 votes.
It is a collective responsibility. And
Haye jostled for the presidential ticket of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. At the end, Donald Duke polled 812 votes to defeat Professor Jerry Ghana, who scored 611 votes. The presidential candidate, Donald Duke, described his victory as democracy in action.
We're also aware that only one will bear the flag of our party. That decision has been made today, but it's our collective victory.
Be peaceful, be developmental, and believe in one Nigeria and the supremacy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Usman Ibrahim Alhaji from Kebbi State emerged as National Rescue Movement's consensus presidential candidate through majority voice votes at the party's national convention in Abuja.
Say aye.
He is expected to slug it out with 16 other presidential candidates in an alliance being driven by his party towards the emergence of a consensus candidate.
We are going to screen and measure all the candidates of all the parties to the alliance based on the template that we have prepared.
And I believe we can do it, and I will emerge victorious, God willing.
Similarly, the Accord Party at its convention in Abuja affirmed Isaac Babatunde Oshitelu as the party's presidential candidate. He emerged through a majority voice vote as the party's first ever presidential standard bearer.
In all the elections that took place after 2007, Accord maintained its presence in the National Assembly.
At another national convention, the Unity Party of Nigeria adopted Inua Ahmad from Gombe State as the party's presidential candidate.
People crossing from one party to another, carrying heavy bag of money. The Nigerian politics don't need that.
In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Meanwhile, former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, has been adopted by the Zenith Labour Party as its consensus presidential candidate in the 2019 general elections. This was at the party's maiden national convention and presidential primary election. Let's hear from Timothy Yusuf once again on the primary and that of some other political parties in Abuja.
The former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, who had few weeks ago declared to contest the presidency of Nigeria on the platform of the Labour Party, switched over to the newly registered Zenith Labour Party, where the national chairman Dan Wayanwu declared him as sole candidate of the party.
We are going on a journey, and this journey is not only for us, but tomorrow can be better than today.
In another development, Advanced People's Democratic Alliance, APDA, at the party's presidential primary election, adopted its national chairman, Shitu Kabir, as presidential standard bearer.
Nigerians should do away with money politics because it takes us nowhere.
At another national convention by the Advanced Nigerian Democratic Party, Issa Bashir from Kano State emerged as the party's presidential flag bearer through majority voice votes.
We certify him as fit and proper person to carry the flag bearer.
In Kaduna, the African People Alliance at the party's national convention
to immediately vacate their usurped positions and allow for the reconvening of the National Assembly to attend to urgent and pressing national issues which require legislative attention at plenary. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Police Force says Senator Dino Melaye and Senator Ben Maurice Bruce are to report to the Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory Command, Gariki Abuja, by 10 o'clock Monday morning, 8 October 2018, for investigation and not the IGP monitoring unit, as earlier stated in the press release from the force headquarters on 5th October 2018. Investigation is still ongoing to determine the level of involvement and culpability of other individuals. And away from that, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has challenged Christians to reject tribalism and any form of division, but offer themselves for service for nation building. The Vice President stated this at the Deeper Life Bible Church in Gbagada, Lagos State, in a special church service to mark Nigeria's 58th independence anniversary. Ken Egbeluge has the story.
Vice President, who spoke on the topic coming of age, used several scriptural verses to justify his conviction that, like Moses, Christians must offer themselves for service. He urged Christians to refuse corruption and stay away from vices that tend to divide us as a nation.
The message for our nation on this anniversary of the birth of our nation is that we, like Moses, have come of age. We have come of age. And it is time for us to refuse and to reject certain things that are offensive to God. One, we must refuse corruption, the stealing of public resources, the stealing even of private resources. As the scripture says, these are the passing pleasures of sin. Two, we must obey God by rejecting tribalism, rejecting ethnicity.
The superintendent of Deeper Life Bible Church, Pastor William Kumuyi, and the governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, agreed that God still used yielded men and women to execute his divine mandate in every family, institution, and a nation. They therefore challenge Christians to be that man and woman who can make a difference in their community.
Can we find something such a one as this? A man on the right hand, a man on the right hand. Feel your space. Find your place. Stand in your place. Be the man and be the woman of the hour of this generation until the person like Pharaoh will be able to say, can we find a man like this in whom the Spirit of the Lord?
We must all get involved and work together to ensure that the potential.
The Nigerian Air Force has deployed an E-135 helicopter and intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft, along with an additional detachment of NAF regiment personnel to Plateau State in support of efforts aimed at quelling the crisis that recently erupted in the state and restoring normalcy. A statement by Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, says the deployment of the ISR aircraft is expected to enhance intelligence gathering, while the helicopter will conduct air support missions in close coordination with surface forces of Operation Safe Haven. Meanwhile, NAF L-39 fighter aircraft operating from Kano have commenced armed reconnaissance missions over known flashpoints within the state. Other NAF air assets are also available at other nearby airfields to provide additional support to hasten the process of restoring normalcy in the state. A fast-growing country like Nigeria that is expected to have a population of about 450 million by 2050 needs vibrant investments like housing and hospitality, which is the second largest employer of labor. Well, a former minister of FCT and the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, stated this at the ground opening of Horton Suites in Abuja. Ifeanyi Ezumba tells us more.
Management Horton Suites has.
To be a young, active, and restless nation. And the only way we can convert that demographic explosion into an opportunity rather than a disaster is to continuously invest.
I'd like you also to reflect and see if you could leverage on your wide international experience.
We also have 7 immediate cities that we want to be in. These are cities that we call gateway cities, but inshallah the plan is to have a hotel owned and operated by Shelter Suites and hotels in every capital city in Nigeria.
I think what we're seeing here is very impressive. The investment is amazing, the management is intact, and definitely there's a lot of value to be derived with regards to job opportunities.
Horton Suites is located at number 1 Uke Street, Gorky, Abuja.
Picture across the country.